Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this one, we're going to go ahead and respond to a thread. And this frustrated thread is from someone who is frustrated, hard stuck, asking for help, and they're going to complain about some of the things, and that's understandable. I think a lot of players have felt like this at some point, so I want to go ahead and put a video out here that addresses this because this is I don't mean to downplay this, but this is not unique. This is something that a lot of people have suffered from, and I want to sort of talk through what the best answers are to this. So if that player hops in here and chats, great. If other people have thoughts or go like, hey, this isn't really helpful, we can talk it through more. But I wanted to go ahead and address this. But if you guys are enjoying this type of content, please do remember to hit that like button down there or subscribe if you're new so that you can, see when these things happen. So first things first, we'll sort of read through the post. I'll address the post as we sort of get through it, and then I'll go ahead and go back to chat. Then we'll probably hit the comment section, and then we'll go back to chat again. So that's generally my format for these. But here we go. Hard stuck and frustrated. Please help. Hi folks, I'm really frustrated. I've been playing this game since release, about 1100 hours played, 650 or so of that in competitive. Okay, so that's a fair amount of time for someone's life. Like there's people who have played way more than this and people who have played way less than this, but for a game that's been out 5 years, 1100 hours, we do need to respect that that is time that someone has poured into this that was not, playing basketball or watching TV or starting a business or something else that might have, that is time that there was an opportunity cost to that they could have used for something else. So the understanding of being frustrated from not being better than other people who in theory probably didn't put that much time in is something that we can understand. Now, the truth is, this is a video game, and video games are designed to be somewhat addictive. Isn't the right word because there's not brain chemistry being rewritten, but to draw in a lot of time. So it actually is an activity that tends to summon more investment from people than other activities in terms of investment of their time, sometimes investment of their money as well. So this isn't actually like, oh, extreme way more than a lot of people, really, over the course of 5 years. It's not. But I can understand, the mind space that someone is coming from of, hey, I've poured a lot of time into this and therefore I should be better. But there's also more than just time, and we will get into that as well as we continue through here. But I'm seeing no movement. Well, no movement is not the same as no improvement. And this is sort of what is likely to be the basis of a lot of the problem, which is to climb the ladder, it's not just about getting better, it's about getting better faster than other people are getting better. So people who were GM in season 1 would not be GM today if they did not continue to improve. Today's Diamond players would probably have been in GM if they played at this level and were in GM. Now the game's a little different, patches, balance, all that, but the way that it works is on any sort of competitive ladder that has a distribution of it tries to distribute players. Okay, we've got the top 0.5% over here, we've got the top 3% here, the top 8% here. Then we do a big split like this, then we do a big split like this, then we do a good split over here. Like something that's going to distribute its ranks like this, it's going to keep them distributed like this. So a couple things are going to happen. One, in order to climb, you have to improve faster than other people are improving. So it's not just about hours played, though hours played can certainly help with that. It's also going to be about, hey, this is the competitive population. And a couple things happen. Other people are improving, they're continuing to get better, and if you're getting better but not getting better as fast as them, you might be worse relative to them, so you'll be moved down the ladder or not move up the ladder if you're improving at the same rate as them. Even if you're putting in more or less hours than them, that's going to happen. But the other thing that happens is when a game is fresh, it tends to have its biggest player base. And that'll be the most casual people. The most people who go, hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to play it for a couple hundred hours, 100 hours. I'm going to play it for a couple months, a year, whatever the case may be. In most situations, you're going to have the people come around the most in the beginning, and that's going to give you the biggest population pool. But the unfortunate thing, or maybe the fortunate thing with competitive gaming, is the people who place down here And down here, if they don't really quickly improve, they're likely to be unhappy. And they're some of the people that are more likely to leave the game. Okay, so now those people leave the game. And, people leave the game. Some good people leave the game too, don't get me wrong. But the people who placed poorly are a little more likely to leave the game because they don't feel good about it and they want to go check out that next game, etc. But also the population shrinks. So the people that stay behind tend to be better at the game. But the distribution doesn't allow these spots to be empty. It's going to force a distribution of the population. So as after the first year, the first few months, the first couple years, as people leave the game, and as people somewhat disproportionately, and I don't have a citation for that, but with how people work, people tend to continue doing things that they're good at or that they're getting accolades from improving at. They tend not to do things where you were in the bottom X% of the population. There's some people absolutely power through that and continue to try, continue to improve, but a lot of people will leave in those situations. So these people will leave more frequently than these people will leave. Both happen, but I am stipulating that this happens more. I don't have evidence for this, but I believe this to be the case, and I suspect most of you would agree. And the reason that I can sort of stipulate to know this to be the case is it's what we've seen in every competitive game. We can go back and look at StarCraft, for example, another Blizzard game, so I expect more of you will be familiar with it and see, hey, the people playing StarCraft now are way better than the ones that were playing it when it first came out, StarCraft or StarCraft 2. And what you'll see there, StarCraft 2 will work better for this example because it has another distributed ladder, and it's the same type of thing. Some of that is people have gotten better over time, and some of that is the players who are worse tend to leave more often, more frequently sooner than the players who are better, which forces some of the players that were here down into here. Not because other players got better faster than them, but because the distribution of the ladder demands that the ladder is appropriately spread out for the player base. And if these people left, someone who was here is going to be forced down. And if you were able to go, no, I forced my way back to here, that actually means you were improving. That actually does mean you were improving. It might even mean you were improving faster than the average population because it tried to push you down to fill out for the fact that people left here, and you had to improve your way back up to actually maintain your rank. Not just to like, hey, I'm improving at the same rank as everyone else, but I might even be improving a little bit faster. Not a ton faster, or you'd be over here, but a little bit faster in order to maintain my rank, because if I was in a middle rank, for example, the game likely tried to push me down when some of the when some of the silvers and bronze left because they weren't enjoying the game and they weren't getting better after the first month, year, whatever the case may be. Because remember, there's gonna be less diamond players leaving, less masters players leaving than there are bronze players, usually, because the bronze players aren't liking it. They're getting stuck going, oh, elo hell, and this, and I hate it, and my teammates are garbage, etc. That's going to happen a little more often, and they'll move on and they'll find a game that's better to their taste, either non-competitive or something that they're naturally a little better at, or they just keep jumping from flavor of the month new game to flavor of the month new game, and that's going to tend to happen. So you shouldn't feel bad about no movement by itself. Zax, I could respond to some Overwatch forum topics. Yeah, I could get to that. Okay, so this is the first thing that I want you and other people who feel like they're hard stuck, they're not getting movement to understand. That, hey, you have to improve faster than other people to get movement because everyone's improving. You are a better player, almost certainly. Not almost certainly. If you've maintained your rank, you are a better player than when you started, unless you maintained your rank by not playing. And if you maintained your rank, you probably actually had to get better faster than other people because the game was more likely to want to push you down just based on these ranks emptying from people not playing anymore. Because the game does have a, hey, we're going to distribute our players. That is the point of a ladder like this. Okay, moving on. It's not like I log on and just press W and left click. I watch videos, practice my heroes until I feel good with them, spend time warming up before going into comp. I watch my own replays and try to find areas where I can improve to no avail. Okay, so I watch videos. Diminishing returns on this. This can be useful, but this is only useful if you then go implement it. Like if you just go, I'm just going to watch videos forever, that can be helpful, but you do actually want to start implementing this stuff. There is some like, hey, I watch videos and then I go implement. And I should be careful how much I say this on this channel, because I would love you to all just sit here, put my videos on autoplay, and just watch for hundreds of hours. That would be fantastic. You should all just do that. Forget I said anything. Forget about playing the game. Just do that. But more seriously, you do need to spend some time implementing this stuff, and you should watch good, high quality videos like mine instead of this top 5 trick to get to GM, or do this one thing to go up 3 ranks on Ana. Instead of that, you should watch my videos. They're better. A lot of stuff, there's a balance between education and entertainment. And the stuff that you probably most want to watch, you're finding the most fun watching, is probably leaning heavier into this. This stuff is better. Education ultimately is a form of entertainment in a lot of ways, but you want to be careful on things that are sort of on that line and finding, hey, where does it hang out? And it's really easy, especially because of how algorithms work, because of how things get funneled, because of what does well that then causes people to want to make more of it. It's really easy to get sucked into this territory. And this territory would include a lot of the bigger stuff that you might be used to, that you might come across if you're not getting really good curtailed advice. Like, it's really easy to fall into the entertainment trap with stuff like your Overwatch. It's really easy to fall into the entertainment trap with stuff like Jane, where Jane has told us, for example, that he could cover professional stuff and he'd get like a third of the viewership that he does if he does other stuff. And then he can cover educational stuff, and that does okay, but it does even better if you do Guess My SR, which is just almost completely raw entertainment. So, like, again, you want to be careful. The things that the Overwatch community, the Overwatch YouTube algorithms will naturally push people towards do get pretty entertainment heavy, whereas the education stuff is better, but you also need to implement this education. It's really easy to just feel good after watching, like, well, I watched some, and therefore now I'm good, and now I've got my accolades. Well, be careful, like, because that feels like you did something productive, but you actually have to go implement it kind of while it's fresh to get the maximum value out of it. Otherwise, if you learn 10 things from watching videos, you'll forget about the first 7 before you go play, before you go work to implement. That could be a little bit of a trick. That could be like, oh, that's actually not the most efficient use of time. Anyways, watch my stuff instead. It's better. Blue remembers watching Timberwolves' first Goat Spot. Nice, Blue. Nice. That was a good one. Practice my hero until I feel good with them. Spend time warming up before going into comp. What does your warm-up look like? I watch my own replays and find areas where I can improve to no avail. So if you're watching your own replays to find areas where you can improve to no avail, you either not then limiting the things you're trying to improve on to just 1 or 2 things at a time, which is really important, or you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, a different perspective can be really helpful. A professional coach's perspective, like mine, can be quite helpful. Like, I would recommend that if you can't figure out what to improve on. That either means, if you can't figure out what to improve on, getting a VOD review from myself or one of the other qualified VOD reviewers, not just anyone, but qualified VOD reviewers, that absolutely can be a good thing. If you can find plenty of stuff to improve on, but you're just going, but it's not working, that almost certainly means you're not actually then making it a focus to find that one thing or those 2 things that you really want to use 5 to 15% of your brain power to work on improving on for 5 matches, for 15 matches, for 30 matches, until it sticks in your autopilot. That's what the key is. So likely you're going wrong in one of those 2 directions. Looking at my profile, whenever I log in makes me feel bad, like all this time wasted. Well, no, it wasn't necessarily wasted, and hopefully you were playing the game because you enjoyed it. Either you enjoy playing the game or you enjoy improving, and you are improving. You're just not improving at a rate that you mentally, with your ego, find acceptable, with what feels like literally 0 improvement. But it's not, and we covered that. That was like the premise, probably the most important thing of this video I covered in the first couple minutes, which was how that actually works. Makes me feel like something is wrong with my brain. Nope, other people are getting better too. That's why you're not moving. Other folks, way less time invested, can climb without issues. Some, yeah, some. But that's going to happen to everyone on different things. Like, that's how it works. I'm not good at art. I'm not good at like drawing, painting, etc. And if I wanted to get good at it, I would have to work harder than other people had to work. And that's just how humans are. Like, humans are different. I'm really good at other stuff. I'm really good at some of the analytical stuff, cost benefit analysis type stuff. It's what makes me good at coaching. Like, I'm really good at that stuff, and I can do it with less effort invested than some other people can. But I would have to invest way more effort to become good at painting, drawing, photography, anything along those lines. Humans are different. You can't compare yourself to everyone. And again, you are improving. You're also seeing when people advertise how fast they climbed, what they did, etc. It's kind of like the social media thing, or when you see a unranked to GM, any of that. It's sort of a social media thing where you're seeing the highlight reels of people's life, not the everyday thing of people's life. What you see is not the average representation. It's the, hey, this went well, let me go put this out there. Or, hey, this gets pushed up in algorithms because it's from the people who are naturally the best at this. And it's not all naturally the best at it. And by the way, they're not just naturally good at Overwatch, they're naturally good at this self-improvement thing, at identifying what they need to improve on implementing those changes rather quickly, fixing it into their autopilot, and then working on the next thing. That's how they're getting good here. So remember, don't go comparing your average life to other people's highlights reel. That'll just make you feel bad. That's silly. They don't need to ask for help on Reddit. Who are you comparing to? Like, again, who are you comparing to? And you don't know that they didn't ask for help in other things. You don't know that in school they didn't get pulled out of their program and get put in, hey, catch-up version of math or catch-up version of English or something like that. They might have been really fast in Overwatch, but not that. Or they might have not, and you just have to accept that. They might just be great at a lot of things. Cool. That happens. That's okay. You, but that's not everyone. Like, you just have to go, hey, you're in this for your own self-improvement. You're playing Overwatch because you're enjoying Overwatch or you're enjoying getting better at it. You're not in it for what all these other people are doing. If you are, I don't recommend competitive gaming for you. Seriously. Seriously. Like, your competitive gaming it's going to just make you feel bad if that's how you're going to be in it for everyone. They don't need coaching. Well, you don't know who's getting coaching. Not everyone's being public about getting coaching. I have clients that absolutely keep private that they're getting coaching. So it just makes me feel like I'm stuck, and if I do end up improving, it'll be because I relied on others to explain concepts to me that seem to come naturally to other people. Other people are going to be better than you at some things. Fact of life. Other people are going to be better than you at some things. I am a very capable person. Other people are better than me at some things. That's how life is. Anyone in chat will be able to tell you the same thing. That even if they're very good at some things, there's other things that just seem to come naturally to other people. And also, this seem to thing we want to be careful with, because again, we get into the what's being presented to the world versus what actually happened, which is another effect. That's not always a seem to. Sometimes they really are naturally better at things. But this seem to thing can make it feel even worse. Okay. Uh, I play tank and DPS. My tank play is better than my DPS play because I tend to spend more time on it. Faster Q times. Okay. I'd say I feel strong on Ball, Winston, Ryan, Zarya, and Orisa. That is a big hero pool. If you're like trying to climb, that is probably too many heroes to be working on. Bring this down to 1 to 3. If you're actually trying to climb, if you're actually trying to improve, the best way is to focus on less things. 1 would be ideal, but you can handle 3. Maybe you can't handle 3, but some people can handle 3. I would bring this down into this range. I would say, yeah, forget it. And if the only heroes that you can play are Ball, Winston, and Zarya, and they can't solve the problem in front of your team, so be it. Keep working on improving on these heroes. And it doesn't have to be these 3 specifically. I just picked 3. I do pretty good with Sigma and D.Va, but I'm less experienced on them. But it's not about just experience. It's not just about experience. It's about how much you're improving. Number of hours isn't the question. It's about how efficient you can be to use those hours to build correct habits for yourself, to make improvements on yourself. As you covered here, it's not just about, oh, I've played more hours and I should be better. Just sticking more hours into the game is fine if you're enjoying the game, but if what you're wanting to do is climb, if what you enjoy is getting better, then you need to be efficient about, hey, I'm investing this time specifically in getting better. So you should be able to tell yourself every match, every time you pick a hero, what am I working on trying to get better for in this match? Am I working on my defense matrix specifically to eat dangerous abilities? Am I working on using my boosters specifically to take off angles above opponents or to clear hit scan? Am I working on using my DM specifically to eat blizzards? Am I working on, like, you should be able to do that every match, because it's not about how many hours, it's about the focused hours and how much you're able to turn those into habits. I do placements, wind up in gold plat, climb until I hit a major loss streak, usually on the weekends. I've dropped as low as silver. Okay, well, this is you playing through tilt. So if you wind up in gold plat with placements and can climb for a bit, and then you hit a major loss streak, well, stop hitting the major loss streak. Well, Temporal, I can't control hitting the major loss streak. Yes, you can. You're playing through tilt. I guarantee you, if you're playing, especially with the I don't know everything about you, I'm not your psychologist, but based on this post, you're going to have a very, very tough time convincing me that after 2 to 3 losses, your gameplay is as good as it was when you were 0-0 or when you were 2-0. You can have a really tough time convincing me that after 2 to 3 losses, your gameplay is as good. It's very likely that you're adjusting, trying to do carry stuff, or you're frustrated, or you're thinking about, well, I just need this win and then I can log off, and you're no longer thinking about, well, how good a job am I doing of landing my jumps, or what does my bubble timing look like for the Winston in terms of, is this a bubble where I land then chase? Is this a bubble where I drop it in the air to block the whip shot? Like, it's very unlikely that you're thinking about this as hard and working on improving after you've picked up 2 to 3 losses based on this post. In fact, I'm almost certain of it, but I am not your mental health professional, so I'm not going to diagnose you. But I can tell you that overwhelmingly across the population, this is true. There's a few people out there who this really doesn't affect them. And the more you understand that what you're doing is you're trying to improve, the less this will affect you. But I can tell you, based on the existence of this post, you're almost certainly affected by losses right now. So just stop. Just stop. I know it feels bad to stop on a loss, but you're going to pick up more losses because you actually are playing worse. You actually are playing worse. So just stop. You've dropped as low as silver, but I can climb back without too many issues. Sure. Feeling frustrated as heck every time it happens. Right. So you're tilting yourself. You're digging yourself a hole, and then it takes more time to get out of the hole. Your natural play might be here, but you're digging yourself a hole, and then you're having to waste tens of matches to get back up out of this hole. And you're wondering about why you're putting this many hours in and not improving. Because these games down here aren't as useful to you. You still have to do them, but they're not as useful to you. So stop digging the hole. If you dig the hole and it only goes this deep, and then you come back and maybe it goes a tiny bit deeper and then it goes up, sure, look at all the time that you've saved not having to climb back out of there, and then you're getting higher quality matches with better opponents that you're able to learn more from. So stop digging this hole. This is slowing down your improvement. Okay. Start to look at every loss in terms of what it costs me time-wise. Right. A loss means I need to win 2 games if I want to climb, and if I accumulate more losses on top of that, it starts to feel like a lost cause. Right. A, get your head out of this mindset, but B, knowing that this is true to some degree, please stop losing. And what do I mean by please stop losing? I mean, I picked up 2 to 3 losses for the night. Well, until you're mentally fortified in a form of these don't matter because I still got good practice on eating blizzards, or I still got good practice on the accuracy of my pile drives, or whatever it was that I was working on for getting, 80, 90 damage pile drives instead of 40 damage pile drives on my main target. Like, unless you're really focused on this and you're like, yep, doesn't matter, I'm getting the good practice, these are starting to hurt you. And so we don't worry about it. Like, I don't want to get too focused on the, oh, you're down here and these matches are garbage, because you can still make improvement during these matches. You can absolutely still make improvement during these matches of working on something specific, and it's not quite as good as the value that you'd get up here, but it's still got good value. So I'm not too worried about it, as long as you're mentally sort of working on what you need, and as long as you can handle, hey, I'm investing this time to get back up here. I probably focused too hard on this, so I would actually ease back on that a little bit, the previous couple minutes discussion there. Okay. If I had to guess what my problems are, you don't need to guess, I can tell you. from a Reddit post, I can tell you. Funny as that is. My playtime comes in spurts, and I can get trashed by tilt if things go poorly, so stop playing. Seriously, stop playing. Like, go take a break. Go run a couple miles. Go exercise. Go do something productive like work so that you can feel like, hey, at least I got something done with this junk time. Resulting in shorter sessions when I have the wherewithal to take a break. It shouldn't take wherewithal to take a break. Taking a break should be the natural thing to do. I think I'm too inconsistent here, and this is likely the biggest thing keeping me from improving, but I don't know. I still have 1,000 hours, so I could be wrong. This sentence just doesn't make sense. My playtime comes in spurts, and I can get trashed by tilt if things go poorly, resulting in shorter sessions when I have the wherewithal to take a break. Again, it shouldn't take wherewithal to take a break. If you pick up a couple losses in a row, you're taking a break, period. Might be an hour break, might be a 3-hour break, you might be done for the day. If you come back after an hour or two and you pick up a couple more losses, you're just done for the day. Full stop. And this is likely the biggest thing keeping me from improving. Yeah, your mentality. Again, we're not focused. If you don't focus so much on climbing, but instead focus on improving on the things that you're trying to work on, that'll ease some of the stress off of the climbing and is actually how you improve at the game. That's actually how these people are getting better than you faster than you. It is. My bike broke once a month ago. That's definitely an issue. I'll replace it when I'll replace it when you can afford a replacement. That's cool, but I don't care. Like, I don't care that your mic doesn't work. You don't need it. You play a lot of main tank, so it would help to have it, but it's really, really not very important. Voice chat is overrated. Not being in voice chat is fine. I don't do a good job of accounting for teammates' capabilities. This is a skill. It's a skill, and it's a skill that most people do a terrible job at, so I'm not too worried. I've noticed that when I fall into lower ranks of gold, I need to adjust my playstyle to match what my teammates are trying to do. Sort of. You're a tank player, so this is a little more true than it is for some other types of players, but I'd be careful with this. How do I want to phrase this? Yes, the game plays a little differently in gold and plat and silver. Yes, there is some truth to that. But really, if you just understand the principle of engagement timing, you'll be fine. Like, the speed of the game and how quickly you can engage will change a little bit. But if you actually understand the underlying principle of I need to engage when my team is positioned either physically near me, so if I go in, they can also go in, or positioned in such a way that maybe I'm here ready to go in when the opposing team is over here, but I can see that my teammates are here and here, they're also ready to go in. So as long as you understand when your teammates are ready to go in, it doesn't actually matter the rank. Like, this concept of I just need to understand when my team is ready to go in, whatever the case may be, if you actually understand that, you just play off of that. It's if you don't understand that and you're going like, oh, I need to give them 7 seconds to get ready, or I need to wait until they're all stacked here before they're ready, or I need to, it's only when you don't understand that you get into trouble. Or if you don't understand the, hey, I want to push as soon as my team is ready, because if I waste time, then I get into trouble because someone is more likely to get picked, and then we're going to have to wait on their spawn, and while we're waiting, someone else will get bored, and they'll get eliminated, and then we're waiting forever. So, like, if you actually understand the principles of, hey, it's when my team is ready, and then you advance that, you up the level by understanding, well, what do our cooldowns look like? What do theirs look like? Does it make sense to delay extra 4 seconds for the Zarya bubble? Yes, it does. Then you'll be okay. So it's sort of adjusting the play to the level, but it's really understand the principles, play to those principles, and you'll be okay regardless of the level. But I don't know that I always do a good job of this. An example, if I see we're up 3 in the feed, recognize it's time to get a little aggressive. It's past time to get a little aggressive, but end up feeding when the rest of the team has privates in their hands back at the choke. So, no. If you're up 3, they're not chilling back at the choke. Like, this isn't what's happening. Your team might be split. There might be a couple that are back at the choke, but I don't care if your Anna's at the choke. She can heal from there. If you're up 3, Your Genji just got eliminations. Your Widow got eliminations. And she might be at a choke, but she's probably not at the main choke. And even if she is, I don't care because clearly she had a sight line that was working for her. So, no. This sentence is wrong. Like, this sentence is just wrong. I think you don't understand where people can contribute from and how people contribute. Not every hero is the same. Like, again, if this is the choke, and your Anna's here, I don't care because your Anna is expecting you to be up here if she's playing here. If your Anna is here and your Ashe is here, again, I don't care because your Ashe can contribute from here. If these two are back here and your Tracer's here, yes, you need to be here. Like that, assuming the opponents are in this space. I can be combative if someone in lower ranks is trying to talk mess about either myself or someone else on the team. I'd say in general, I'd say I'm generally positive and teamwork oriented, but if anyone tilts, you do. But if the other tank throws out a "why do I have gold damage" or something equally unproductive, I start to regard this person as an idiot. The effect is magnified as losses pile on. Yeah, you're part of the problem here. You're a big part of the problem here. Like this is causing you to lose games. So there's an art. There is an art to someone is being combative and you just effortlessly shut them down and it clearly doesn't bother you. You could call this like the Fonzie effect. That's a dated reference, but you could call it that. If you can effortlessly shut them down, even if you can be a bit of a jerk about doing it, but be a jerk in a way that it shows it clearly didn't affect you and it doesn't really leave room for them to strike back. It doesn't turn into a firefight, etc. And there's ways to do that, but I'm not going to be able to teach you how to do that. You're going to have to go watch some. I suppose I could teach you how to do that, but I'm not going to teach you how to do that here. That would be, you'd better learn that if you like leveled up your charisma in general. You could go watch charisma videos on YouTube. You could figure out, wait, how can I do this? How can I shut people down? How do guys interact with each other with like a somewhat aggressive joke that showed it didn't affect me when someone else is taking a shot? Like there's ways to do that. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. What I'm actually going to suggest you do, unless you want to invest all that time learning on that, and by the way, that will help you in life, would be just don't do it. Don't go jumping into people's defense. If it's your defense, you're sort of stuck in a bit of a double bind and you end up in a situation where you may have to do something. But these really need to not be rabbit holes that you open up. It needs to be a quick, okay, they threw the gauntlet, you throw the gauntlet back, and you try to let it end there. And you really are trying to throw it back in such a way that it really doesn't go deeper. And if it clearly irked you, it's going to go deeper, and they're going to keep taking shots, or if you throw it back too hard, they're gonna feel the need to defend themselves, which is equally bad, and it'll go deeper. Like there is an art to this. Injecting some humor into it is part of that art, but I'm not going to go too deep here because this isn't really a charisma channel. We could, I suppose, go more into it if people ask a bunch of questions on it, but I really would actually recommend that if it's not aimed at you, don't get involved, just let it be. Really just don't pay attention to it and just restructure the conversation. As that comes out, move the comms more onto, hey guys, what ults are we going to win this next fight yet? Or ask a question that you already know the answer to, like, do they have beat? Can someone tell me if they have beat? That changes the plan, etc. Like, try to move the conversation on like that is probably better for you short term. Just pretend you didn't even see it. Okay. Because if you start getting too into this, letting fights happen, you are magnifying fights that are happening right now. And when fights happen, people play worse. When these fights happen, people are playing worse, and this is losing you games. Like, I promise this is losing you games. I promise. I can upload a VOD, but today was all placements and mostly wins, so I don't know if that's helpful. You winning is fine. You're not stomping on the other team. You winning is fine. We could still review it. I'm probably not going to review one for you unless you pay me at this point because I'm already responding to this for you, but conceptually, wins are not a problem. You might ask, why are you feeling this way after winning all day? It's because I placed gold on tank and silver on DPS. If I do upload VOD, should I throw a loss here, or is it any game good? Any game where you're not just completely spawn camping or completely getting spawn camped. And a little spawn camping is fine, but I mean like spending half the match with spawn camping happen. You've even considered coaching, but if you're being honest, asking here makes you feel bad. If other people can figure out this without help and with less playtime, what's wrong with your brain? You're not other people. And not everyone is honest about the fact that they get coaching. Some people get coaching and it's a secret that they got coaching, but that's not everyone. Yes, some people are figuring this out and putting it together without coaching. But those people also led different lives than you. Those people might have figured out the trick to self-improvement while doing other things. They might have figured out, oh, I have to stack habits like this. I have to do it like this. This is important while doing something that wasn't this video game. And they might have gotten coaching for that thing. It might have been when they were doing tennis. It might have been when they were playing chess. It might have been when they were playing baseball or basketball. It might have been when they were getting math tutoring. Like it could be anything, or they may have just figured it out because, oh, I see how this works, and they figured it out. And once you figure that out, it is a good skill that you can use for a lot of life. So don't feel bad just because it's like, oh, I'm getting coaching for a video game. Who cares? This video game is a college sport that's done now. I coach for a collegiate team. Like this is no different at this point than people getting coaching for any of those sports that I just listed. That people don't really feel bad about going and getting a coach for baseball or whatever, to help them make the team, to help them get into a better school or make the higher level baseball team in their community, to where they're, instead of just on the everyone gets in tryouts team, they're on the selects team, whatever the case is. Any input is welcome. Well, you're getting mine, so here you go. And I appreciate anyone who has managed to make it through your rant. This is really affecting my ability to enjoy the game. It it shouldn't. Seriously, it shouldn't. Again, you play the game either because you enjoy playing the game, which is fine. You enjoy socializing with friends while you're playing the game with them, which is fine, or because you enjoy the self-improvement aspect, which you're not understanding right now, so this clearly isn't what is happening, but this could be fine too. This is kind of important for long-term competitive game enjoyment. And if you can't find yourself enjoying one of these three things, don't play competitive games. If I do climb at this point, I'm going to look at this flaming, be reminded of how much you sucked for the majority of the game's lifespan. Okay, I think I've pretty adequately responded to this, but let's get into the comments. Like I said, we'll be going ahead and covering the YouTube comments, so if you have questions, comments, things you want to say, throw them up in YouTube now. Then we'll get to the comments down here. And I did link this thread in the description of the YouTube video, so if you guys like, you can click through, make your own comments on this thread, up or down vote the thread. I could understand justifications for both ways, up or down vote my comment so it gets more or less visibility, whatever you want to do there. So let's catch up on chat here. Mercedes, I was just reading that post, interested to hear what I have to say about it. Okay. Val says, I love the Reddit videos. Having not only 100% reviews is refreshing. Yeah, we're trying to mix it up a little bit. We may even mix a little more past Overwatch with some of the Reddit stuff at some point. If you guys have interesting threads that you think I'd have an interesting take on, preferably that are somewhat fresh, you guys can throw them in the Discord. I'm willing to go a bit beyond Overwatch here. We don't 100% want to anchor here. We are mostly an Overwatch audience, but as you guys know, just like we'll do, hey, we're reviewing a new thing that's coming out, or we're talking about a new system that's coming out. We're willing to branch a little bit, so that can be interesting. And sometimes we go into economics and finance too, because we're silly. It's another one of these Reddit rants. Yes, it is. I also watch videos. I gain like 50 SR every minute watching Temporal. There you go, Game Buster. That's the way to do it. Okay, Zax, I was able to keep and rank even climb over the years, and I honestly only watch coaching reviews. I never review my own games. I only use FFA in practice. But that's still a pretty good practice routine compared to the average player. You're watching videos and you've curtailed your video watching to more educational stuff like mine. You do an actual training routine where you're using FFA for practice, and Yeah, like that's two good things that you're potentially doing. Even if you're not reviewing your own videos, that's still better than the average player who is mostly playing, just playing, and watching videos and naturally get sucked into the your Overwatches of the world. Or get sucked into the, and Karku's videos are very interesting, but one tip against every hero isn't actually helping you get very much better. Those tips are getting pretty niche, and I'm not blasting Karku. Does good work. I'm just pointing out that it's very easy to feel like, oh, this is really helping me because now I really understand the Pharah versus Winston matchup. This one trick versus Winston. Not really. Not actually that helpful. Most of the stuff that you get into is pretty niche there, and I don't know that that specific one is niche because I I made that one up, but yeah. Education is a form of entertainment. 14 years of school didn't feel like entertainment. Um, I mean, I could make the comment that in the video space, in the YouTube space, even education is a form of entertainment, but I could go more general with that comment too and say, well, like you weren't bored during that time. You might have been bored sometime during that time, but you were doing something with your brain. You were keeping yourself occupied in some way with that 14 years of school. There was something. Entertainment might not quite be the right word, but it's pretty darn close to what it is. To filling your time in a way, because you might go, oh, but if I'm filling my time in a productive way, it's not entertainment. Well, that doesn't have to be true either. So I don't know. We don't really need to nitpick that. At least in the YouTube space, education is somewhat a form of entertainment. Blux watched my first Goats video. Nice. Zach says some of us have to post this video to Overwatch forums. I have heated discussion with hard-stuck players who believe in forced losses and rigged matches all the time there. Yeah, I saw the one I did on that Reinhardt where it was like the 8-minute match on Lijiang. I saw that wasn't received well. The guy clearly just was in the no, I'm hard stuck and it's this and that, and it was laughable with like, oh, I won't take a review from someone who doesn't have an open profile. Dude, I have the most open profile of everybody. My open profile is called I have a Liquipedia page and I have 500 plus reviews up on YouTube. Like, it doesn't get more open than what I do. Okay. But yes, they're going to be there's going to be people like that, and there's also going to be people that are intentionally trolling. Like I imagine that one, for example, would have been a well, if your rank is 4400, you don't understand what it's like in plat diamond whatever, and if your rank is plat diamond, well, you're not better than plat diamond, so how can you tell me how to get better? Like that's such an obvious trap. Okay. Uh-huh. Blux, also good thing is to just test and tank some SR losses experiments where you can do and what punishes you. Yeah, there's some value to that, definitely. Photoshop, this Reddit post feels a little generic rant that applies to everything. I think so, but I feel like it was time for us to respond to one of these. Like, I'm not going to respond to every one of these because we do see posts like this, but we haven't responded to this rant, and I'd like to have this. And this response might be a good future link to future rants that are similar to this because this will exist. Okay. Photoshop, GameBuster, are you making fun of my Photoshop skills? Is that where that was placed? That I'm not good at Photoshop? I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I'll take that on the chin. That's fine. Okay, I would suggest main one hero and have backups when that hero isn't working. Yep. Okay, Dan Lidrell says, "Hi Temporal, I wanted to say thank you for all the high quality coaching VODs. No problem. Nobody else seems to be doing this anymore. Your Reinhardt reviews have helped me understand how we should be played. Excellent. I'm glad you've enjoyed those, Dan. I'm really glad you've enjoyed those. If you have questions, feel free to throw them up." Val, I can relate. I used to cry on Discord almost every day over my team/loss streak. I needed a temporal to save me from myself. Now I can do it on my own. Excellent. I'm glad you've been able to pull yourself up to a place where you can do it on your own now, Val. That's fantastic. After playing over 13,000 comp games, I am mentally bulletproof. Maybe. You might be. You might not be. About voice chat, I don't think it's fine. I don't think it's fine not being there. Everyone should be. You don't have to speak, but you should be able to listen. No, you're wrong, Zax. Is your next thing a follow up to it? It is. There is nothing more frustrating than warning teammates about flankers, for example, and them not bothering to even join voice. Yeah. So the problem with that, Zax, is we know how human psychology works, and we know how the community for Overwatch, and I'm not claiming the Overwatch community is worse than other communities. I'm not claiming that, but we now have enough evidence. We've played enough Overwatch to know what the average voice chat interaction looks like, and we know what percentage of the time it's going to go negative, and we know that if it goes negative even once, it's going to affect you for a couple more matches and increase your chances to lose. So I get what you're saying. I get you're wanting this good, nice team environment. You're wanting people to be able to make callouts and people to have the option to respond to those callouts, and you want all that, and I totally understand that. That's called scripts. That's called an organized team environment. But given the realities of how likely something is to go negative and how something going negative will, for most people, because most people are not 13,000 games of mental fortification, you have to work with the standard player here, and the standard player is going to be impacted by negative comms, by negative text, etc. So if they make the decision that I know this is going to potentially tilt me, no, it is they are doing the maximized thing to increase their own improvement and the maximized thing to increase their own win chances by not being in voice chat. And I know that's unpopular with some people. I know some people hate that, but they're wrong. Because those people are maximizing their win chance. They're going, hey, there's let's pick a number, 70% chance over the course of 3 games that someone is going to say something that's going to be offensive, tilting, bother them, that's going to be a shot at them, that's going to be a shot at, someone they're queued with, that's going to be a shot at someone else that they're going to jump in and try to defend like this guy does, and that's going to cause them to play tilted, maybe until they get a win, maybe for a game or two. But if they're playing tilted, they're much less likely to get the win, and they're going to lose more matches. So I understand where you're coming from, but you're wrong. Yeah, I think in the beginning the beginning of Overwatch's history, that argument carried some merit. I think that carried some merit, but I think as we got enough data, and I actually had the differing opinion. In the very beginning of Overwatch, I had the same opinion that you did, Zax, of yeah, people should be in voice. I changed that opinion. I got new information and I changed that opinion. That was one of those things where I went, hey, I've looked at this. I know what Overwatch is like. We have enough data now of what the community is going to be like, of how positive and negative people are likely to be, and of how useful those comms actually are. Because again, almost everything that's there in comms, you can or should be tracking yourself. You should on ladder be doing most of your own ult tracking. You should on ladder be doing a lot of your own, okay, well, I'm mentally tracking where people are. You on ladder as a support are not expecting people to come back and peel for you. It would be great if they do, but you're not expecting it to happen. You as someone who could potentially peel for a support should be paying attention to these people that might be able to show up anyway. Like, the voice chat could augment it. It could, but come on. Every support player will tell you that they call for peels and they don't get it. And a lot of that is them misunderstanding how the game works, but a lot of that is, if they can tell you, hey, I call for peels and I don't get peels, well then that's even when people are in voice chat. Them not being in voice chat isn't going to change that situation. Like, you see how that works? Except now they're also less likely to not get tilted. See? Works great. Okay, time for Discord memes, a collection of Temporal's worst epic pen drawings. I vote for keyboard drawings. That's a fair vote. Okay, ooh. So, Alexi says, hey, Temporal, I've noticed that a lot of your reviews, at least that we see streamed, etc., are on lower ranked players. Any thoughts on why that is? You're actually wrong, Alexi. So we actually did this, we did the metrics like a month ago. Someone ran the numbers on my public reviews, and I actually disproportionately sample higher ranked games. I don't wildly disproportionately sample higher ranked games, but if you look at the games that I review and you match them against what the distribution that Blizzard has told us of the player base, I oversample a little high compared to low. I oversample a little bit in the GM Masters Diamond territory, and I undersample a little bit in the more average ranks in here. We're not talking like huge. We were talking, oversampling by a few percent, but you're actually wrong compared to the player base, which surprised me too. I would have figured that I oversampled a little low as well because my higher ranked players were choosing to be more secretive about the fact that they were getting coaching, didn't want stuff published, etc. And then some of my higher ranked stuff is like for a team, for example, Northeastern, who I frequently choose not to have their stuff be public. But that's not correct based on the data. We did run the numbers. I think what you're suffering from is what you're suffering from here, and your belief is your belief that more people are in the top ranks than actually are. We tend to focus on the top ranks when we're talking about the game and thinking about the game, but the top ranks aren't actually where the population is in the game. Like, we tend to say diamond players are bad at the game. We tend to say master players are bad at the game. We tend to say that GM doesn't really start until 4200 or 4400, depending on who you ask. But like, remember, that's not real. Like, that's real when you're building a tier 3 team or thinking about a trials team, but that's not real for the actual distribution of the player base. Or the time he took 4 tries to do a circle. I'll blame my mouse, but yeah. EU is exceptionally bad. Most games in low elo are silent, with people not being in voice at all. Many people join US from outside of US because of that. They also join US in some cases from outside of US because, from a professional standpoint, that is more of where Overwatch League is centered, and it's easier to get recognized if you're on the top of the US servers or the Korean servers. But going over to the Korean servers is harder. So people would intentionally go over to the US servers if they spoke English, if they were in the EU, because they would be scrimming over there in some cases on teams for better chance of getting scouted, or they would be over there because, hey, that's the ladder that you're more likely to get noticed on, etc. Or you run into streamers who are going, hey, where's the most population, the largest language, the correct language to stream in, fewer viewership is going to make more sense in English than French, for example, just because of the number of the potential audience. And if that's the case, we want to go on English-speaking time zones, and English-speaking time zones are more going to be, well, let's go play on US servers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, EU voice chat can be something. You get some of that in US, and you can get some of that if you play in South America as well, and you can get some of that in US, you can get some of that in South America, you can get some of that in EU, or nowhere's perfect for that, but yes, I do know that EU can be worse for that than North America. I am constantly collecting data from my game, and honestly, I believe you are wrong. In my experience, our games with teammates active in voice comms one Faten than games where they are not. That doesn't contradict what I said. That doesn't actually contradict what I said. So you're collecting data from my games, and honestly, you believe I'm wrong. In your experience, games with teammates active in voice comms are one more often, I think you're trying to say, than games where they are not. Sure, sometimes people are toxic, but surprisingly many games with toxic teammates are won anyways, because just because someone is toxic doesn't mean he is bad at playing the game. I never said that. I never said someone being toxic meant they were bad at playing the game. In fact, you will find sometimes that the elites at a game tend to be more toxic. You will find that the most tryhards tend to be a little more toxic. That's just what we are talking about of, oh, GM doesn't start till 4.4 or GM doesn't start till 4.2. Like, saying something like that is a little bit toxic. Like, oh, GM isn't really GM. 4Ks aren't really GM. Master players are trash when they're the top 3% of the player base. Saying things like that is kind of toxic. And yet, where do you think this mentality came from? It came from players that are playing at and above this level. So there's something to this, and there's something to, I don't know if it's people want to be toxic or what, but then, hey, to back up that toxicity, they play well, etc. But yeah, I am not saying that people who are toxic are bad. But people might want that to be the case, but real life doesn't necessarily agree. Like, yeah, I didn't make that statement. You're putting words in my mouth. In terms of, but some people do recognize that they are affected by toxicity in voice chat and choose not to be in voice chat. And they are maximizing their own win percentage as well as their own improvement percentage by not being in voice chat. In fact, I would say most people are affected by it. And even some of these people are affected by the toxicity, but they know how to use it as fuel a little differently. It's not that they're built different, but they use it a little bit more as fuel and not just as a I'm gonna play more type fuel, but like I better make sure I keep continuously improving because I just badmouthed this other player and he's a pro or he's a big streamer, whatever, and I need to be better in the net. I need to stay better than him. I need to keep being better than him, or I badmouthed him 6 months ago. I better keep improving to keep staying better. Like there's something to that. But I don't think you've actually disagreed with me, Zax. Like I know you're disagreeing with me, but the evidence that you're supplying doesn't support a disagreement. Doesn't support a disagreement, or it doesn't undermine my argument. Is more what I would say there. Um, and games with teammates in voice are won more often than games when they are not, but you're a fixed factor there. So you're collecting it from your own games and you have useful comms. And if you're collecting it from your own games and you provide more useful comms than average, you are skewing the data yourself. So, like, by being someone who's an actively useful commer, keep in mind you are not in the average Overwatch game, you are in your Overwatch games. The average Overwatch game does not include a good shot caller. It doesn't. There's games where there's a good shot caller there, and the good shot caller is being hampered by people not being in comms, but the average Overwatch game does not include a good shot caller. Or a good shot caller who's willing to shot call. Because when you shot call, you get more emotionally invested in the game. It's really hard to not take losses harder when you're shot calling a bunch and you take losses. Like that's harder for people to do. So again, you're not actually sampling the average game. Your sample is biased. Um, Alexi, following up on the comment about my reviews skewing down, which they don't, they actually skew up. Oh, really? That's really interesting. Maybe it's a perspective thing as well as to why I thought that. Yep, totally understandable. It surprised me too, like I said. Val responding to Alexi, you have to remember silver gold players are more common. He is referring to relative population, not absolute population. He's referring to relative population, not absolute population. You're going to have to run that by me more specifically, Val, for me to dissect that. There are more silver and gold populations. There are more silver and gold players than there are master and GM, yes. Blizzard does the distribution of what the players are with their ladder. I oversample the higher ranks a little bit, not wildly, but a little bit with my public reviews. I'm not understanding what you're meaning by the difference between relative and absolute populations here. Okay. Yeah, I'd say competent players start at 4.4-ish, so it's skewed for sure. Yeah, absolutely, Val. Okay. So Parody says, I think voice comms in low elo can be pretty useful as long as you recognize the limits. Mostly it's only useful for calling out enemy locations, say Reaper behind, or people won't turn around until they're already entering their getting a limited animation. On the other hand, it's not that important, so I mute anyone that's annoying very quickly. Fair enough. I'd say in low elos, especially, info calls are all you really need. You can take over a low elo game as a shot caller with calling how the opponents are going to win team fights. Maybe not like super low, but you can take over gold games, for example, with they're going to win this fight with Grav Dragon. They're very likely to try to Earth Shatter at the beginning of this fight. Like, if you just tell your team exactly what ult they're going to use, they're totally not used to it. And as long as you adjust your plan for, oh, I'm playing against a Reinhardt that holds his Earth Shatter forever, but you can take over games as a shot caller with ult tracking, in like a gold game, for example. But again, it depends what we're calling low. Hmm People lack awareness even in, I don't know, a 4.2 game or something where people should know better. What I do is mute everything and just info call what's absolutely needed. Yeah, that's a solution too. You can go, hey, you're just feeding voice into the void while you've muted everyone else. That is a strategy. Uh, People that try to make actual shot calls in low elo do more harm than good, in my opinion. They frankly don't have enough strategic sense or game awareness to do it right. Depends. It depends. Some of them do. Some of those people are, they were working on a new hero. Some of those people hit a loss streak, and they do actually have the sense to do it. I mean, there are people who will visit low elos who do have the ability to do that. But I understand where you're coming from. To be fair, shot calling is more about having the team on the same page than being the optimal call, but I agree. Yes, and that is the thing. A better shot caller in lower elos will recognize, hey, they won't do the plan that I want, so let me call the plan that they want to do to get the people who are flexible onto the page of the plan that the other players want to do and are probably going to do anyways. Zach says, well, in high plat, I don't have issues with voice comms. Below that, it's bad as people do not join voice chat. People don't always join in plat either, but sure. People don't always join in plat. They don't always join in masters. They don't always join in diamond. They don't always join in GM. Like this is. I suppose it gets better as you go up the ladder, but it's not perfect. So it's a low rank issue. I've basically lost games for simple fact that teammates could not listen. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. That's the thing that you identified as losing the game, but there were other places that you could have won the game. Show me the review. You know that if you show me the review, I'm going to show you things you did wrong. You know that. So be careful with that. Like, yes, that's a thing where, well, if they'd done what I wanted to, we might have won the game. But we could have won the game 3 other ways before then, so maybe not. Yeah, I'm not in gold yet. I did go 10-1 last night, so maybe I won't be bronze forever. Hey, there you go. Okay, Zax, the thing is, if you can use comms and be positive yourself, anyone who is in voice chat is advantage you. Yes. If you can be positive, and this gets into that charisma thing, if you can be positive, if you can help uplift the team spirits, you can actually do a little bit to break people that are on a little bit of tilt with good positive comms, and that can be an absolute windfall for you. But again, Zax, you going like, hey, comms are useful, comms are important. Comms are important for your games, but I look at this from a more holistic approach of the latter. Like, your comms are a meaningful part of your game. They might be 20% of your value as a player, 15% of your value as a player. They're not for the average player, and they're not very good in the average game in gold, silver, plat, which is where the average player lives. But people do shot calling in low elo very rarely. Usually it's the Smurf anyway. Okay. The commenter said, I saw many bronze silver games on your videos. This is the absolute number. We have Master GM reviews videos, but higher than the expected 3% of population, relative population. Right. Okay. Mostly it's just suggestion or sharing simple ideas, not exactly shot calling. Sure. I can show you recorded games. I know, but you know that I'm right. Yeah, sure, you are right. There you go. There were mistakes, so I understand it's not just one moment, but it was one of them which could be different with people in voice. Sure, but if the Genji on my team would just go off and eliminate 6 people, we could win too. No, I'm saying that tongue in cheek, obviously, but we're on the same page. I know. There's moments where, hey, if they'd been in voice, they could have responded to the call, and if they'd responded to the call, we could have won that team fight, and that would have been the match. I get that. I do. But again, you don't get tied up in that because there's nothing you can do about that, really. Val says at Temporal, I want to improve shots calling skill. Can we somehow review the games with voice comms too? Sure. I just need the game to be recorded on YouTube. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to stream either on YouTube or Twitch or whatever the game as you played it, or your session as you played it, so that you have it, or you'd have to record your gameplay and then upload it somewhere that I can watch it, and I'd have to be able to hear the comms of the game. And that's something that we do sometimes. I will review games like that. You get different advantages from both. I don't like reviewing recorded games when there's not comms that are interesting, because it just takes away my ability to go check stuff out, and that's lame. But if there's interesting comms, absolutely we can get value out of watching a recorded game rather than a replay code. I've got no issue with that. It wasn't related to gameplay mistake. Okay, so let's do a refresh here, and now we've caught up on YouTube chat, so now we're going to check out the comments here to see if there's something interesting. This is the most upvoted thing, so we'll take a look at it. I understand this completely, but it's really up to you to change your perspective on things. Not playing after 3 losses, switching roles after 3 losses, just stop playing after 3 losses. Leaving voice chat if it gets too toxic. Again, the damage is usually already done. This is good advice, but better advice would be if you're not mentally fortified, strong, etc., and you're not based on this, at least not at this point in time, don't be in voice chat in the first place. Yes, I know Zax is throwing bricks at me at this point because I'm saying that. Trying to your best to stay positive. Yep. Mute people that aren't doing anything but complaining. Sure. Stop putting yourself down so much. Also good advice. Reason you feel so stuck is because you've seen yourself at your best and that becomes the average you want. Yeah, there's some truth there. Playing perfectly to your own standards. So when you don't play like that, even small mistakes are big ones, or get called out for doing bad can really hurt your mental state because you care so much about how you're playing. Right, and stops caring so much about how you're playing. Instead, care about, am I improving on the thing I'm working on improving on? This can cause you to have some sort of drop or a mental block in your playstyle, can cause you to lose a lot, and then once you start to lose a lot, you get fixated on, it's been 7 losses, it's been 8 losses, it's been 5 losses, and that distracts you. You're now not playing your best, and you're not focused on improving on something. That's not good. Most times, yeah, you can blame your teammates or Smurfs, which is just you delaying your own self-improvement, which isn't good either. But negativity can affect how you play and your team plays so much. Good. Fine. Not taking it so seriously, right? That's fine. Play for fun, play laid back. Yep, this is one of the things to do with the game. That's one of the 3 reasons you could be playing the game. With friends, that's another. Only make you feel worse if you're focusing on every mistake. Sure, again, get focused on what you're working on. Play just to improve, not to win. Thank you. What could you have played better? Was any of my supports? Were they alive? Did they need peel? You have to realize that even if you're better than someone else in a competitive game, they have the same problems as you, not being able to play, not being able to climb, playing bad sometimes. You have to realize what your team is doing wrong and how to fix it. More you, but yes, some your team. Team game, send in anything. This is a good post. This is overall a good post. I don't agree with it completely, but it makes sense for this to be the top voted post here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that part really hit home. And it was the reason you feel stuck is probably because you've seen yourself at the best. That part. Okay. Anything else from the OP? OP responded to this one. Nothing to be ashamed of by learning stuff, but learning is the key here. Calculus doesn't come naturally to the average person. Hey, you're stealing my examples, man. Anything else interesting here? Used to mitigate frustration with the game by interacting with team members. Being friendly at the start of the game goes a long way, I found. That's harder with the broken mic. Okay. Okay. Sometimes you're going to run into trolls where even if you're friendly, they're going to go negative. But if you found that's helped you, that's fine. I really wouldn't blame the mic too hard, though. Like, again, you really can climb at this game while not being in chat. You went and tried to get a game and it went poorly. Desquentin, they watch some of our stuff. They comment. Nothing wrong with your brain. Just take longer. Two styles of Overwatch to climb. Okay, what's this stuff to say? One of the usual style about synergy and teamwork and how heroes work together. But the other is when you recognize you have to make a winning play. Or else if things go on like this, you lose. This could be. I mean, you can think of the game like this. You can think of the game like this. I would argue that the usual style about synergy and teamwork, you got to be careful with because that needs to be very flexible. Like that can't be super complex. Oh, we're going to set up our dive. We're all going to hit at the same time. Or, oh, our Reinhardt is going to go in and at the same time our Doomfist is going to hit this. Like you got to be careful because you can get into a trap about having this idealistic version about the game, how the game should be played. And if you watch a lot of my like macro stuff that I did a couple of years ago, it's easy for players who watch that to be like, this is what has to happen. And my macro stuff is very good for the time frame that I released it in, but it's not the play that you're going to get on ladder. So like you got to be a little careful about being flexible with that type of stuff. And then this winning play thing, yes. If it's just not working and you're correctly recognizing that it's not going to work, this can be the right thing. But it's really easy for players to be like, I lost a couple games, now I have to do this all the time, this try to do the winning play myself constantly thing. Or this, well, we lost a couple team fights and now I'm going to do this. When the real issue is, well, you lost a couple team fights for reasonable reasons, whatever. Then you went in and you executed a team fight correctly and you got smashed by ults. So please just do it again because they can't smash you with ults again. But no, no, no. Now I'm going to go try to carry and do this. So I would be very careful with this advice. This person means well, but I would be very careful with how they've structured this. That's just a repost. And then there's my post. Okay, nothing too interesting here. That was a little bit interesting. This was a good post. We got to see a little bit more insight into the OP, and now they're on tilt to not posting a match, so that's fine. I'll take one more check of chat here. Remember, if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you're looking to get coaching yourself, because I am a former top contenders coach, multiple regions, I do coaching on YouTube here. I can do sessions with you, either with you in voice with me where we review the game together, or where I just review it on stream and you can be in chat, not be in chat, have it as a finished product, whatever. To get that, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what my rates look like. Or if you're like, hey, this was interesting, I want to see more stuff like this, where it's like a radio show almost, where he finds a topic and he talks about it and he goes through the chat and he goes back and forth with them. I want to be in the chat doing that. That's cool too. If you go into the Discord and then you go down to get notifications and you react to that post there, you'll get the watcher role and then you'll get pings when I go live. So you can see when we go live on these topics, as well as when we go live for reviews. If it's interesting to you, if it's something you want to be here, want to be a part of, I find that's the best way to get notifications immediately, because those Discord notifications go out immediately when I start talking about a topic, as opposed to the YouTube bell notifications, which maybe they'll go out, maybe they won't go out, maybe they'll go out 15 minutes in. They're weird. So are Twitches. Whatever. Okay, so let's catch up on chat if there's any more here. Zach's throwing a brick. Sounds good. Oh, Ponder. Okay, so Ponder is here, and Ponder is the one who made the post. Hi, this is me. Excellent. If you have stuff, you did respond to a number of the posts, but if you have things, Ponder, I don't know how much of this you got to see because it looks like you joined after I'd mostly responded to your post here. But if you have any responses to anything I said, any questions, comments, please do throw them up in chat now. Oh, you just woke up. Yeah, you're in a different time zone, I imagine. You can certainly you can certainly throw those up in YouTube chat, and I'm willing to have some level of dialogue with you surrounding it. It's a shame we couldn't get you in here a little bit earlier, but because I think we covered most of it before you got here. But I definitely recommend you rewind and take a watch through this, because I adjusted this. And if you want to watch, it's an hour-long thing, so if you want to watch it at like 1.3 speed or something, I totally understand. YouTube will let you do that. Uh, Okay. So Val says, cool, I want to do that sometime in the near future. Maybe you can do a video quality check before we start. I'm new about editing the video code format for YouTube. I'll upload a new one if it's bad. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you'll be able to see yourself. You'll upload it to YouTube, and it'll be very obvious if its quality is usable or not. But it should be fine. But yes, I'll tell you if it's going to be a problem. At Zax, watching Zax play on his main would be interesting. It was pretend Lois R Mercy last time, right? Yeah, that was Zax. I have to climb on the alt first. I'm almost gold now. Okay, okay. I'll watch it for sure. I appreciate you going over stuff for me. No problem there, Ponder. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up then. Again, if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, and we'll go ahead and end it here. Thanks, guys.